Welcome to the Parra Podcast for 2025. My name is Justin Horo. I'm very excited to be back with the club, and I've sort of come up with a concept this year where I want to recognise the past, but also have representation from the present. And for my first episode, I'm so excited to have club captain Mitch Moses involved and club legend Peter Sterling.
Thank you, Just. So you're saying I'm old and he's new? Is that basically where we're going?
I always think, like, in order to look towards the future, you've got to have an idea of what people have done in the past. So I come up with this concept. You guys were obviously you were number one on the list. And to get the opportunity to be back involved with the club and do something like this, I think is pretty cool. And sort of just want to chat. It's not necessarily more about results now, but just the state of the game, the club, the past, and everything. And I guess we'll start off with you, Mitch, first. A whole heap of people who will be watching this, fans right now. You've given an update on the weekend on Channel 9. How was the injury, mate? And maybe a little bit more detail than on Channel 9.
Which left
a little bit sure. I don't know.
Left some people confused, I've heard.
Oh, they are very confused. I said a comment on the weekend in the game, and I think everyone's taken it out of context. But it's coming along slowly at the moment. But that's how it is with the foot. But it's on schedule. I'm looking at probably round 7 or something like that. So it's feeling pretty good. It's probably the best it's felt the whole time for the last 4 weeks. So I just got to keep biding my time, I guess, and it's taking its time at the moment. But yeah, it'll come good.
The good news is I'm available.
Well, the fans are going to love to hear that.
There was a spot there.
We'd love to have you out there, mate, actually.
Oh, that would be embarrassing.
Stella, you're an Eels Foundation ambassador for 2025. What does that look like for you? And, what sort of stuff are you going to be doing around the club in 2025?
Yeah, look, it's a little bit more involvement. I haven't divorced myself from the club over the past amount of years, but I live a couple of hours north now. I'm not down in Sydney as often as I used to be. And I guess rugby league isn't the be-all centre of my universe as it used to be. But for me, when the position was offered, it was giving support to the new complex, basically, out of Kellyville, because I see that as a really important step for the club in going forward. And if we are to be the club and our players are to be the players that we want them to be, everything is out there. I'm excited by the prospect of it. Everything is integrated, all under the one roof out there, including the NRLW. They'll be a part of that complex out there. So it kind of takes away any excuse for us not to be successful, because it's state of the art. Everything is catered for. Everything's in the one spot. And for myself, it's just basically showing support for that. I guess public relations. It's also I will be around more. Nothing to do with the hands-on, anything to do with the teams at all.
Yep.
I was speaking to Jason and said if he wants to talk to me about anything, I'm only a phone call away. But I'll be around a little bit more. But it's really getting behind what we have on offer out there and where the club is going as a result of the new complex.
Okay, how's it looking over there, Mitch? Are you still, from my understanding, because I haven't been out there yet, are you guys still sort of training around there and it's been extended? Is that sort of what's happening at Kellyville?
Yeah, so where our Centre of Excellence is at the moment, our temporary one, is in the same spot of where it's getting built. So, there's 4 fields that pretty much separate the difference. So we're working here at the moment, and we'll move over to the Centre of Excellence. I think it's ready in a few weeks. Okay. But I think we're going to head over in the bye round around then. So that's round 8 or so. So right. We'll be in there soon, and we can't wait. It's looking unreal. Went through, had a tour of it the other day, and we can't wait.
Out of the demountables now.
Out of that.
So that's a good step.
Yeah, we'll see the demountables were post my time as well. We were in the stadium when I was playing there and training on number 2, but that looks completely different now.
That's good.
That's now a car park, I believe.
Yeah, it's completely different.
So, a lot of changes and even more changes coming up. Sterlo, you're a huge part of, my childhood, not only with playing, but growing up. You finished up in the media about 3 or 4 years ago. So what have you been doing post the media career, mate?
I was born to retire, Justin. I'm good at it. I wish I'd have probably done it a little bit earlier. Look, I won't bore you, and I've said before, I had a few health concerns 4 years ago. I had a few symptoms that didn't present particularly well. and I've got a very bad family history, so I was kind of thinking that I might have got a bad phone call. Fortunately, that didn't happen. It was just an inflammation of the bladder. But it gave me pause to think, well, if I had got a bad phone call, what would that have meant? And it meant that I need to spend more time with my wife and my daughter. I needed to travel more. Way too many golf courses I haven't played. So it was just, it was just a change in direction of putting my energy and passion into where, it had been with the game, just into other areas. And it's great. I love it. We travel a lot. We've got a trip coming up again next month. It's very strange for being involved in rugby league here in Australia. Even though I'd been to Europe on many occasions, I'd only ever been over there in their winter months, like December, January, because the game wouldn't allow it.
Yep.
So for the last 3 years, to be over in Europe in June in shorts and T-shirts, it's been fantastic. So that's a big part of it. But, I still watch the game. I'm not as closely invested as I was, because if I was, I'd still be there getting paid to call it type thing. But it's been a really good move for me, and I feel good. And
do you miss it at all? Do you miss I know the travel must be tough, but you've given so much to the game and been a huge part of so many people's lives for so long, and your crew too, Fatty, Rabs, and Gus.
I certainly miss the people.
Yeah.
The game, to a degree, but I watched 8 games every year for 30 years. That's a lot of footy. So I was kind of ready for a break from it. So pretty much realistically now, I watch our games, I watch Origin. Outside of that, not too much more. Only disappointment in retirement, Justin, is I thought the more golf I played, the better I'd get, but that seems to be working in reverse. But that's the only downside to it.
Well, you need to talk to Mitch. I held a golf day last year, and Mitch was one of the co-winners on 43 points.
I was.
So
that was the best I've ever played. Actually,
it was his home course,
home deck.
Yeah,
very well handicapped, I would imagine. I'd say.
Yeah. There were some big scores getting around because there were a lot of footy players playing Sterlo.
Yeah.
So we'll have to chat after the podcast. Love to have you a part of it.
Absolutely.
At the back end of the year.
I'm not difficult to get to a golf.
It's a great day. It's one of the greats.
Yeah,
Yep.
It was a good day.
Unbelievable day.
It was a great day for you, Mitchie, when you were announced club captain, mate. Run us through that. How the conversation happened with Jason Riles, and I know you grew up a Parramatta fan, so tell us a little bit about the feelings and what it meant to be named club captain for this year.
Yeah, it was special. It was a special moment for myself, my family, everyone. Old man was a mental Parra fan growing up, so I pretty much got brought through it, seen all the glory days of Sterlo running around. My old man loved it. His favourite player was Mick Cronin, bled blue and gold from a young age. So to be named captain was a pretty special moment. He pretty much just grabbed me at. I kind of felt like it was coming. We'd have some chats a few weeks before, and he just grabbed me when we were away in camp at Lennox Head, and just asked me if I wanted to be the captain, and jumped at it straight away. And I feel like I was ready for it, and probably wasn't ready the last few years, I guess. And obviously having Rolesy, and he's showed a lot of confidence in myself to name me captain, and it was a big moment for my family. I had my family come down to the training, and got presented being captain. The whole club was there, so it was pretty good from the club to put that on for myself. I didn't really expect that, so it was a big moment. I can't wait to captain him one day, I guess, when I'm out back on the field. So
obvious choice.
Yeah,
the experience and the maturity in his game now. I think he's in his sweet spot.
Agreed.
And I don't, not peeing in his pocket type thing, but like what he did for New South Wales, especially last year, I thought the foundation of the Blues' victory was Mitch's kicking game. Queensland spent so much of their time in the 3 matches working it out off their own line, and that was on the end of his boot. So there's a real maturity in Mitch's game now. I don't want to get into your privacy or too personal, but it was really nice to see you and Stephen Edge alongside each other. And Steve Edge, slowest hooker that's ever played the game. He was blind. We used to ring a bell, so when I'd throw the ball in the scrum, he knew when to strike. But we'd call him Python because he wouldn't strike. He was, but a great leader of men. And if you have a look through his record, at his time at St George and here, he was captain all the way through, and in so many grand finals. Can I ask you, if it's not too, what he said to you?
Well, my thing was I wanted to ask him what his advice was, I guess, and his biggest advice that I took out of it was just don't change what works well for me.
Yep.
I think being a 7, you'd know you're a natural leader on the field.
Yep.
So I think what extends from that as being captain is you got to do a lot more media. You got to do a lot more of those types of things. I think that's what's going to change, and I could probably be better in that aspect, or better if how I approach some of the players, and I can be a bit hot-headed on the field and just passionate because I just want to win. It probably gets the better of me sometimes, or probably just calming down a bit and how I deliver things. But the biggest thing was don't change too much. And, obviously, I'm captain for a reason there. It's because I lead the boys well on the field. So, that was the biggest thing I took out of it.
Okay, well, that's the smartest thing Edgy's ever said
Is it? There you
in
go.
the 30 years I've known him, so that's good.
Still, I mentioned your origin last year, and you mentioned like maybe wasn't ready. Was huge, but the results weren't the greatest for the club. But what you were able to do at Origin and then also for international footy at the end of the year, was that a big part of like now feeling ready for the opportunity as well?
It's I mean, I come off my foot actually. I did my foot round 3 last year, and then pretty much prepped. I was speaking to Madge pretty much the whole time when I was injured, so I was pretty much prepping for game 1, like until I come back. Then I had a couple games to Parra, and then hopefully play. But I missed out by game 1 by a few sessions, and then I was so ready to go. Like once I got the call, I was so excited and ready to go that I'd pretty much had that whole time to build up for that one game. We weren't playing too good as a club, at club level, sorry, but I knew if I could, go play some good footy there and try to bring it back, it would try to help us. But then obviously I had my bicep. I didn't have the greatest year at club level, but I learned a lot going into that Origin arena, and then playing Test footy at the end of the year. I learned a lot playing with some big leaders and how they went about themselves. Isaiah Yeo, Jake Trebojevic, players like that, how they captained the side, how well they spoke, and I took little bits out of their game and their leadership and hopefully implemented into Parra this year.
A very bittersweet season for you. The more you talk about it now, like the results at Parra. I really want to touch on in this series, obviously getting Sterlo and yourself in. I want to talk about the position specifically. Sterlo, you've seen the progression of what where Mitchie's at now in his game. From your era and your time playing, what's probably the biggest change that you've noticed in the position, and what still remains true that made you so successful during your time playing at Parramatta in the halfback position specifically? Yeah,
well, the game's changed because the players these days are bigger, faster, stronger than they've ever been. So the game is much quicker than the game that I played in, much more structured, which I don't know if it's a particularly good thing, but that's certainly the way things are. While the game changes, the root of it stays the same, and I think that applies to positions as well. I think wearing a 7, as Mitch pointed out, you play a leadership, whether you've got a little C next to your name or not, you're playing in a leading role, because outside of the dummy half, you will handle the football more than anybody else in your team. So when and where you direct it is crucial to your chances. Generally, your number 7's the main kicker. And if you don't nail your kicking game, you can't compete in today's game. You've got to get that right. So it's I don't think it's changed that much. Whilst the game around has changed, it's still a really simple game. And when I mention structure, when I played the game, the best advice I ever received from Jack Gibson was to try and view the game as you would sitting in the grandstand, to get your head above the ruck so that you're not just concerned where the ball is, but what's happening away from the ball. Okay. And ultimately, to me, the game was about maths. If we had 4 players on that side and they had 3, that was kind of the natural way to go. Or if I went across and made it a 5-1-4 or whatever, then that worked just as well. So I always tried to view the game not from actually out on the field, but an overview of what was going on. And I think that gave you a really good vision as to how to direct it. But your 7 is, to me, it's the quarterback, isn't it? They direct everything as to the way to go. And but the kicking, I believe, is something. If I was a young player now, or if I was coaching young players, the first thing I'd do is get them to try and kick both feet. Yeah, okay. If you have a look at the other football codes, like in soccer and rugby union, the vast majority of players can kick with both feet. Rugby league's the only footy code where you can't. We've had our rugby union converts come across, like Tony Melrose and those kind of guys, but I would have loved to have been able to kick both feet. And we talk about what a luxury it is to have a right foot kicker and a left foot kicker in your side. Wouldn't that be nice to be in one package type thing, you know?
Take a lot of pressure if you wouldn't, Mitch. Like coming off the sidelines, you're stuck on there with the right foot kick. If you were able to knock one on the left, getting away from the sideline, it's a really good point.
I think it'd allow you to play a bit more footy, to be honest. Like instead of going, all right, fourth tackle, I need to set up my kick, I need to put it in the right spot so I don't get as much pressure. From there, you can just go and play as much footy as possible.
There you go. There's a good little nugget for anyone watching at home. Well, what about the structure of it still? Oh, sorry. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
On the kicking, I think it's I put a lot of time into it and a lot of effort into it. And we're going back to the VHS days, like not now where you can. But I'd watch games and I would actually rate each individual kick. So I'd go through and watch the game, and if I kicked 15 times, I'd give each one a mark out of 10.
Yep.
But I'd watch the game in full because it was important to know what kind of kick was needed in what particular moment, you know, to maintain maybe momentum, or if we hadn't had the ball for 10 minutes to kick it away second or third tackle, that's a 2 out of 10 type thing. So what I was trying to do with that was work out a way that I understood the game enough to know what type of kick was needed, and what I was looking to do was get as many 8 or 9 out of 10 kicks as I could and stop the 3 or 4.
Yep.
Basically, I tried to say that 7 was my worst kick.
Yep.
And by doing that kind of research on it, it stopped the 3 out of 10 and 4 out of 10. There were still those in there type thing, you know. But I just think that if you're talking about the role of the number 7, the kicking game is so important, along with the fact that you handle the footy so much.
You mentioned before looking at the landscape of the entire field. It's a little bit different now, like from you controlled the entire landscape of the field when you were the 7 during your time. Now a lot of people were taught to break it up left and right. I think the best ones now have got a freedom. It's sort of going back to the past now, where the good ones don't really pigeonhole themselves anymore. They don't sit there. How have you seen the development of that, and the lack of development, I guess, for some playmakers not to be able to see the whole scope of the field and just staying on one side? Yeah,
look, I don't know enough about the coaching that they've received coming through into grade. That obviously has a huge part as to that's where you learn your trade, isn't it? When you're young and coming through. But I'm also coming from an era where we had centres who played next to each other. Ray Price, my lock forward, was next to me all the time. He wasn't a middle forward type thing. So the structure has changed as well. But I just think, and I know it's a bit of a cliche, but we can never, in our playmakers, we can never lose the ability to play what's in front. And just because you might be working towards something, or working towards a post or whatever, if something's on, you take it, you grab it, and especially if you've got the defence going backwards to any degree. That's where these guys can really take advantage with Mitch's speed and Dylan's speed to be able to go at a retreating defence. That's where we're going to be at our best. And if you can put a defender back on their heels, you're halfway towards beating them as well. So in answer to your question, I don't know if I did in there, but we've got to make sure that in our coaching and in the mentality of our playmakers, they never lose the ability to play what's in front of them and what's needed in that moment, not in 1 ruck time or 2 rucks time or 3 rucks time, because otherwise you miss the golden opportunity, and who knows what's going to be happening in 2 plays time.
It's arguably one of your best attributes, Mitch.
Yeah.
Taking something that you see down the short side. It even happened at Origin level for you. Is that something that you prioritise in your game, making sure just playing what you see?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like at the moment, you still have to have these structures around where you get to in these field positions, but you need to be able to count numbers on a short side. If they've got 3 defenders, like Sterling was saying before, you've got 4 attackers, you've got to go there. You know what I mean? It's count numbers, whether it's a quick play of the ball, it's recognition of, all right, I need to get the ball now and understand to attack them. When I was coming through, so as a junior, I would always just go play whatever I wanted. Like it was just like I'd chip and chase, tackle one. I just loved playing footy. I just loved being out there. But it wasn't until I was 17 playing SG ball at the Tigers, and Andrew Webster, the Warriors coach now, he was my coach in
really?
SG ball.
Yeah.
If I didn't have him as my coach as a 17-year-old, I wouldn't be able to play the footy I'm playing now.
You still be chipping first tackle.
I'd still be doing. I'm telling you, I'd still be.
Put a little bit of handbrake on you.
He didn't pull me up, but he taught me. All right.
Yeah,
Pull up that, but he goes, you get to a field position here, count numbers. He taught me actually how to count numbers and play eyes up footy and, you know, when to control the game, when not to control the game. I probably didn't do it that good then because I was still doing those crazy things. But if I didn't have him as my coach as a 17-year-old, I wouldn't be playing the footy that I could play now. I definitely, he taught me so much about how to play as I was playing 5'8" then, about how to play as a half. And I still use those things today, playing now.
Yeah,
I think you're looking for triggers as a playmaker as well.
Cues, you look for cues. And,
if your dummy half shoots and you got to be in his back pocket, again against a retreating defence. I promise you that if the centre goes into marker, if there's a 10 or 15 metre blindside, if there's a centre, you go the blind. You will always get an overlap down a short side if their centre comes in. Those kind of things you see if you're not just occupied on the ball itself. But there are triggers there that you've got to react to, and the best playmakers, they see them early.
Yeah. Speaking of the best playmakers, how do you see the depth of the position at the moment, Mitchie? I feel like from watching the game now, there's so much talent at fullback. I think every club's almost got 2 or 3 first grade fullbacks, and outside of like the vets like yourself, Jerome's obviously playing at a high level. Nathan is right up there. With the veterans like Ben Hunt, Adam Reynolds, Daly Cherry Evans, Sean Johnson just retiring last year, I feel like there's a significant gap at the moment. Do you? Well, I guess that's hard for you to answer that, but how do you see the depth of the position and I guess maybe the way that it's being coached up?
Yeah, I think, well, still I said it before, I definitely think it's how they're coached from a young age. I feel like the coaches at the moment are playing way too structured, and I feel like they're probably too worried about results and like instead of prepping this player to go on and play first grade at that club. And it's just structuring too much. It's get here to play here, and if they don't do that, they're getting sprayed. You know what I mean? So they're not teaching them how to play eyes up and how to count numbers and those types of things. I feel like, and that's probably why there's been a lack of halves coming through at the moment. But I feel like we're slowly trying to change that at the moment. Definitely at our club, we've got a few good coaches in the junior grades at the moment. Josh Hodson is looking after the mat side. We've got Jordan Ranker with the flag at the moment, and
just retired last year.
Retired last year, and they've been massive. I think they're trying to help these kids be first graders. They're not worried about their results. They're worried about making this kid a better player and a first grader. So if we can focus on that in the junior grades and just not lock the kids into playing so much structure and just let them go, I think we'll see a lot more halves come through.
Some opportunities are opening up, aren't they? The players that you mentioned who are in the twilight of their career, and Sean Johnson and that leaving, there's some certainly. I was a bit disappointed last week with when obviously Dylan's decision. My first contract was 3 years, $9,000, $3,000 a year. I worked out he got me by $12,991,000. Just got it. But there's some opportunities coming. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I was. Don't worry about 10. I was lucky to get a contract year to year, so I understand where you're going with that.
Well, there's a few more clubs coming through as well, so
exactly.
There's a lot more chance.
I think there's going to be more of them. I really think because of the expansion, that's a huge part of what Newcastle are doing, and I think there's going to be more of them because when you start looking at potentially 3 new franchises in the next 5 years, in order to get a player of Dylan's stature away from a club, you're going to have to give them more years.
Yeah.
Something's got to be appealing.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
I think
and the depth as well. I just don't think the depth's nowhere near as strong as it was, during your time, the 90s. Still,
100%.
There was just elite sevens at every club.
The appeal in more clubs too, if we have the talent to furnish that, is that you're actually getting closer to a fair competition. And the only fair competition is you play everybody once or you play everybody twice.
Yep.
It's really like it's an inherent problem in our game where you play everybody once and half of everybody again.
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see how the game evolves as to actually we get out to 20 or 22 teams or whatever, and then you play everybody once.
Just once.
And then you got rep footy and that around it type thing.
Yeah, so you think there's some space for that? 20-week comp an international break potentially
Definitely.
with Origin. I think that would work really well. I've been a big fan of that for a while.
I think we're working towards it because it's far from ideal what we have with the amount of teams. Like I say, you play everybody once and half of everybody again. Not that many competitions around the world do that as such.
It's really tough for the top end players, I guess. They're playing 3 Origin games during that 27 round NRL rounds, and then you want to go play test footy at the end of the year.
Yeah.
They don't come back to training until probably February, mid-January.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then they have 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Now we have a Vegas game. Then those good players, they'll probably have 3 weeks of training straight to Vegas.
Yeah.
Like, that's how injuries happen. That's how it's all, like, it's
But
a big ask
you
on the
need a
body.
good 6 weeks, don't you? But then you also, those guys need the break.
Exactly.
They need the break.
Yeah,
so there's got to be some give
well, you
somewhere.
look at the Penrith boys and that, they're playing, most of them are playing all 3 Origin games, every single game up to the grand final for the last 5 years, and then playing test footy at the end of the year. It's a big ask.
Financially, that's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah,
the amount, the more club games, the more television rights and all of those kind of
which
things.
is
So
fair.
it's a balancing act that be keen to see how it sort of moves to where we're eventually going to get to.
Mitch mentioned pathways before.
Yeah.
This club's always been successful when the pathways has been in a good spot. No, the results haven't gone as great so far, but there are a couple of young players that are coming through now, Sterlo. You look at some of the young guys that they're trying to blood in whilst keeping, having veterans like Mitch in there. How do you see the pathway system at Parramatta right now?
Well, it's vital. It's crucial, isn't it? And we've been good, but we need to be better at it. And you can't keep everybody, but we just need to keep the best, I guess, type thing. So that identification is absolutely huge because players are obviously getting signed younger and younger and being recognised much, much earlier. In regards to, we need to be a club that nurtures our young players, brings them through to be a club where they want to stay and don't want to ever go anywhere else. And again, I think the complex out there will be a part of that, feeling like you're bigger than something than yourself type thing is so important in a club situation. I'm 64 now. Every time I go out of my house, I still feel like I'm representing the club. So you want to have an affinity like that as a player and afterwards as well. And I know it's harder to stay at one club, these days than it's ever been. But the pathways are huge, and if you have a look at the success of the clubs that have, won premierships or been up there, their development has been very, very good, and they've bought extremely well.
As a captain, is there any of the young fellas that are really exciting you that have either been a part of the squad for this pre-season? Or
I don't like to put too much pressure on the young kids coming through.
Okay.
Like, it's a big thing. I've obviously been in those shoes before and felt that, then coming through and having to succeed straight away, and everyone expects you to succeed straight away. It takes time, but we've got a good group at the moment. But I feel like, touching on Sterlo's point, like what we're trying to create at the club is somewhere where if you get offers somewhere else, you don't want to go, and we want to make it a place where everyone loves to come train and they never want to leave. You know what I mean? And that's what I feel like Rolsey's done really well at the moment, and he's tried to implement that into what we're trying to do. We're obviously not getting the results at the moment, but at training we're really working hard and we're trying to get the results, just not going our way at the moment. But we want to make it a place where no one wants to leave, and we want to try to create a group here that can stick together and have some success, I guess. And we've got a fairly young crew at the moment, and if we can stay around and stick solid, hopefully there's a few more wins around the corner.
Hardest thing in our game is to be patient, isn't it? And we've had a really poor start to the season. I hate to say it, but I'm not surprised in regards to there being some difficulties to start the season off because Jason came in, we won 7 games last year, conceded over 700 points. I think Penrith conceded under 400. So there's some work to be done, and it's not a quick fix. In our game, there's never been a quick fix. I think we can take confidence out of a club like Canterbury, who were probably where we were 3 years ago, but they've turned things around to a degree fairly quickly, much quicker than I thought. And when I met with Jason early in the season, I didn't know what to expect, but I was super impressed. I think he knows where he's going and where we need to get to and how to get to, but it's going to take time. He's made some really big decisions early on, and he'll need to make some really big ones as well in the future. And a lot, that will be around player roster as much as anything else. So there's a lot of things that I know that he's working towards, but this game it's hard on you, and you've got to believe in what you've got and where you're going, and I see that there. So I want to be patient. It's not the easiest thing, and our supporters, they need to be patient, which again, it's a really difficult thing to do. But when you're making change and you're making it in a plan to where you need to get to, it's a big part of it,
I guess the hardest thing to do, like to be patient with these days compared to, definitely your time, Sterling, but even more so my time as well, is these sorts of, there's different forms of media now. There's instant reactions from fans on social media. How do you see all that, mate? You're a huge part. We would never see anything like this, 10 years ago, unless you were interviewing someone on Channel 9. That's the only access that we've got to players. Now there's social media content, there's team content, there's podcast, and then there's obviously still mainstream. The access to players and having an opinion is
Justin,
great as it's ever been.
I'm old school. I still pay cash and I still use a box brownie to take photos. And I have no form of social media whatsoever. I don't operate it on it. My daughter opened my eyes maybe 10 years ago when she was 15 or something. I was driving along. I looked up in the rear vision mirror and her head was down in her phone. And I said, Hannah, I was reading the newspaper this morning and there was an article in the paper that said your generation of youth are all going to have neck problems because of the very thing you're doing now. And her reaction? So that's the mentality that you're dealing with. Look, I think social media is a wonderful thing in regards to the access to the players that you talk about, and the conduit between fans and players is wonderful, but it's got to be used in the right way, and it's you've got to be smart. There's so much more pressure on these guys than my time. The whole world changed when you could capture a photo on your phone. That's not something I ever had to deal with. But also, the players, I think, if they can utilise social media in a positive and advantageous way, it's fantastic. But they just got to be smart with it and realise that you're always on show. But I will also say that the players are more educated now than they've ever been. So I don't have a lot of tolerance and leniency in regards to when they stuff up, because they know the situation. But I think it's a two-edged sword, isn't it? It can be a really positive thing, but used the wrong way or not in the smart way, it can be really negative type thing. How do you? I don't follow you or anything like that. I'm sorry, as I say, I don't know any social media.
Instagram handle, Mitchy.
Can I ask you what you're 30 now?
Yeah, 30.
Do you operate on social media?
I'm on it, yeah.
Post and those kind of things?
I don't really post much, but it's I use it more as for a sponsorship type thing.
Do you give an update on an injury, or is that something that's
nothing like that? I don't think players.
Shared like that? No,
not really. No, I think leave that up to the club and they all do that stuff. But I feel like the social media side, it can affect players a lot. I feel like if you have a bad game, you can see some players, some young boys go straight on their phone and they go straight on the Instagram, they see everyone pizzling them, and it can affect them. And you can use it one way or the other. You can use it on the sponsorship side of it or whatever it is to grow your brand, your social brand, or you can look at it for updates on who's playing this week or anything. And I think the access that fans have and that anyone has, everyone tends to be an expert on how to coach a team or how a team should play. And I think if you listen to it like that, and let that affect you,
Drive you crazy.
it'll
Yeah.
affect you definitely. Like,
The gratification can be dangerous as well, though, Mitch.
Yeah.
Right? Not only looking at being down in the dumps if the results aren't going well,
but looking at the good
but
stuff.
if you're feeling yourself after a big win and people telling you how good you are, and so
Yep.
like you never would have got anything like that unless you went to the pub, Sterlo. Maybe you had a schooner with someone after the game.
After a loss, never went to the pub. But
Geez, that was a good game, Sterlo. You know,
I just think the mentality is, and it's a really good one, especially in our game. Things are never as good as they seem, and they're never as bad as they seem. If you can keep a sort of an equilibrium about things and not get carried away or not get too down the. Can you explain to me? You guys might, you're younger than that. I went to a Bruce Springsteen concert up
the boss.
in the Hunter Valley. Yeah, the boss, like it. And I'm watching. There he is on stage, like, and he's sensational, and he's unbelievable live. And I look around, and all these
Everyone's
people
got their
are
phones
watching it
up.
on GoPro.
Yeah.
There he is. He's 30 metres away. You could sit at home and watch it on video, couldn't you? If you're watching it on the GoPro.
You know what it is, Sterlo?
No, I don't.
They want to
That's
show
why
off.
I asked.
They want to show off and show everyone at home how good they are, that they're at
And
a Bruce
that they're there.
Springsteen concert.
Okay.
And that's a big part of it, mate. Yeah, I like and I've seen concerts before or heard of, like, because I like going to watching comedians as well.
Yep.
They take your phones off when you go in,
Yep.
so no one can get out
Yeah.
and record the stuff. I think there's an element of that I really miss. That I sort of grew up and went back into my career was sort of becoming more prominent with social media. But it is good to get in an environment like that every now and again.
Yeah. Just back to your original question. There's a great opportunity, isn't there, for players now?
Yeah.
I retired at 32. I didn't have a trade. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was terrified. At 32, to realise the bulk of your working life still in front of you, it was confronting type thing. But you can see players now who are doing sort of stuff in the media, maybe later on in their career, to see that there is maybe a pathway or an avenue now. And, Fatty and myself, unbelievably blessed that we stepped from the game into that where there wasn't much opportunity around there because there weren't that many players who had done that. But there's more there now, and even for a guy like yourself doing these, podcasts and that, you can really be a part of the game still as an ex-player in whatever form of media you want to pursue. Because, as you say, there are so many more different platforms than that now that you can be a part of.
Yeah, we were just discussing before you come in, Stella. Mitchie's opened up a gym, and you use social media to help bring people.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
Use your profile for a business on the side. Like there are so many benefits like that, mate, that are really good for players, and you can take advantage of that.
You can set yourself up for after footy. Yeah. I think that's a big thing as well.
So when I was playing, my weight training, I'd wait until they finish so we can go and do something else. I don't know if I was never going to get into a gym or anything like that at all.
All right, so at the end of the year
We'll
with the
have to
golf
get in there
day,
then.
I was going to say that golf day at the end of the year, maybe we'll have a gym session.
This is all sounding
done.
very strenuous here, so I'm an old man.
Sterlo, this is a real treat. Mitchie, thank you for your time. I guess a lot of the fans are excited still for the season 2025. Any message for the fans before we wrap it up? Mitchie?
Stick solid. Hopefully we can get a few more wins around the corner, but we're trying our best at the moment. Hopefully it changes.
And if Sterlo's telling us to be patient, then I'm willing to be patient. And I'm ready for a big year. Thank you very much for.
But before we can I also say, I played with your dad, Mark, and it's wonderful to see the Horo name continued on, and you obviously played with us and a Manly type thing. But your father was outstanding. Like he was a great teammate, a great player, and to see the name continue on for someone like myself who likes the history of the game. It's nice to be here and be a part of this with you, and say hello to your dad for me.
We'll do. Really appreciate that,
Cheers.
mate. Thank you.
Thank you.